Welcome back to Superbly Said Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases.
Today we're digging into some terms from a SpeakDuo lesson, which itself was based on a TED Talk called How to Succeed Without Confidence, Motivation, or Healing.
And if you're an advanced learner looking to practice your English speaking, you should check out SpeakDuo.com. You can meet new people from all over the world and really build up your confidence.
Let's jump right in. We're focusing on the nuances that make these phrases so useful in advanced conversations.
Okay, our first phrase is all about organizational complexity, dual mission.
A dual mission. So that's where an organization, or maybe even a person, has two goals that are, what, equally important?
Exactly. Two equally important, simultaneous goals.
So how is that different from just having, a secondary goal?
That's the key distinction. A secondary goal is, it's secondary by definition. It's subordinate, less important.
Right, it's an extra.
But a dual mission demands perfect balance. These goals are often tied right into the organization's identity. If one fails, the whole thing kind of fails.
Like a university.
Perfect example. A university has a dual mission to provide top-notch education and conduct cutting-edge research. You can't just drop one.
But I wonder, in a professional setting, doesn't a dual mission sometimes just become a conflict of interest?
It absolutely can. That's the tension.
Like a manager's mission is to maximize profit and maximize employee retention. Those two things can pull in completely opposite directions.
That's a great point. And if you were asked about that, maybe in an IELTS question, you talk about navigating that tension. You could say, the main challenge of a dual mission, for me, is balancing my time between long-term strategic planning and urgent day-to-day tasks.
Okay, moving on. Let's talk about a phrase for when something applies to everything. Across the board.
Right. This means it affects everyone or everything within a group.
But people say generally or for the most part. How is this different? If I say salaries generally went up, that implies some people might have been left out.
Exactly. The difference is the finality of it. Across the board is absolute. It's systematic. There are really no exceptions.
Okay, but is it ever truly absolute? Let's be real. If a CEO announces a 10% raise across the board, does that really include the summer interns and the external consultants?
That's a very sharp point. It's usually absolute within a defined group. The listener is expected to know the context.
So the scope is implied.
Yes. A good example would be, after the review, the company gave a salary increase across the board to all full-time employees. We've defined the boundary.
Got it. And in a bigger context, like government policy, it signals something you can't escape.
For sure. If you heard about a new tax being applied across the board, you'd know it would hit your budget because it applies to everyone, universally.
All right, let's pivot to some more descriptive, evaluative phrases. I like this next one, all over the place.
Yes, it's a great way to talk about chaos or inconsistency. Basically, something that's disorganized or scattered.
Now, you could just say something is diverse or varied, but this feels different.
Very different. Diverse is usually neutral or even positive. You want a diverse team. But all over the place, that's almost always negative.
It suggests a lack of focus, right?
A total lack of focus or coherence. It makes things confusing. For example, the suggestions for the office party were all over the place, from a formal gala to a pajama party.
Yeah, that's not helpful diversity. That's just a mess.
It's a mess. And I think it works best for processes or plans. Saying a person is all over the place is common, but describing their work that way is often more precise.
That makes sense.
So if you were asked, you could say something like, I tried to follow a recipe once where the instructions were just all over the place. The final dish was confusing.
Okay, next up is a phrase for getting to the real issue, at the core.
Yes, this points to the most fundamental, central part of a problem.
I think people sometimes confuse this with, say, the main obstacle.
They do. An obstacle is just something in your way. It's a symptom. To find what's at the core, you have to peel back the layers and find the root cause.
So using it signals a deeper understanding. You're not just looking at the surface.
Exactly. Think about two colleagues arguing over a project detail. The argument is the obstacle. But at the core of their disagreement might be a fundamental lack of trust.
But it's a bold claim to make, isn't it? To say you know what's at the core. You better be able to back it up.
You're right. It's a strong statement. It's an analysis. For an IELTS question, you might say, when it comes to communication problems, I think a failure to align on goals is usually what's at the core.
A concise diagnosis. I like that.
Following that, let's talk about the word overrated.
Ah, a great word for debate. It means something is judged as being better or more important than it actually is.
Right. And again, there's a nuance here. It's not just disappointing.
No, not at all. A movie can disappoint me personally, but for it to be overrated, it means the public hype, the general opinion, has inflated its value way beyond reality.
It's the gap between the hype and the actual substance.
Exactly. And when you use it, you're not just sharing an opinion, you're actively challenging a popular belief.
Yes, like saying, that famous landmark is totally overrated, it's just too crowded and expensive to enjoy. You're pushing back against the consensus.
A perfect use case. Or, connecting back to the talk, you could even argue that confidence itself is overrated when it comes to success. Maybe discipline is more important.
That's a great application. Or you could say, I think social media fame is highly overrated. It doesn't seem to guarantee real happiness.
Okay, let's switch gears to phrases about experience and effort. First up, a great metaphor, a wild journey.
This describes a sequence of events that's difficult, unpredictable, maybe confusing.
And we need to be careful not to just reduce it to a long process.
Right. A process can be long but smooth, predictable. A wild journey highlights the chaos, the emotional challenges, the feeling that you weren't fully in control.
So it's about the emotional texture of the experience.
Yes, absolutely. Learning a new language can feel like a wild journey. You have these unexpected breakthroughs and then these frustrating plateaus.
I think it's most powerful when you're telling a story about personal growth. It frames the struggle as part of the transformation.
Exactly. Instead of just saying, I trained for a marathon, you could say, training for the marathon was a wild journey. I faced injuries, exhaustion, moments I was ready to quit.
That's so much more compelling. It tells you something about the person changed along the way.
Next, a phrase that often connects to motivation or lack of it, the bare minimum.
The smallest amount of effort that's acceptable. Now, is this just a synonym for adequate?
Not quite. Adequate is neutral. The work is good enough. But the bare minimum, that usually has a negative spin.
It implies a conscious choice to do as little as possible.
Yes, a deliberate lack of effort, doing just enough to not get in trouble. For example, he only submitted the bare minimum for the project, so his score wasn't very high.
Okay, but let's play devil's advocate. In the context of that TEDx talk, couldn't doing the bare minimum be a strategy?
How so?
Well, if you have zero motivation, just doing the bare minimum, like writing one sentence, can be the first step to building momentum. It's a tactic to beat procrastination.
That's a really interesting way to reframe it. But I think in a team context, the negative view usually wins out.
Oh, for sure. If everyone on a team only does the bare minimum, innovation dies, quality suffers.
All right, let's clarify the word a trait.
A trait is a distinguishing quality or a characteristic. And the important distinction here is between a trait and a skill.
Right. A skill is something you learn, like coding or public speaking. It's a capability.
Whereas a trait is more inherent, more tied to your personality, like persistence or patience or curiosity.
That's a really useful distinction for work. You hire for skills, but you often promote based on traits.
That's a great way to put it.
You might say, patience is a crucial trait for anyone working in scientific research.
And when you're thinking about entrepreneurs, you're looking at traits. The most vital trait is probably persistence, because they face constant setbacks that no single skill can fix. Okay, our last one for today, it combines recovery with measurement, bounce back rate.
This refers to the speed or efficiency with which someone or something recovers from a setback.
Let's focus on that analytical side. People often talk about resilience.
Right, but resilience is the capacity to recover. It's a quality. Bounce back rate is about the speed of that recovery. It turns it into a metric.
So it's quantifiable.
Exactly. It forces a concrete analysis. If we say, his bounce back rate after failing the exam was impressive, we mean he was studying again the very next day.
The recovery was fast, efficient,
Right. And it's not just for people. A tech company might track the bounce back rate of its servers after an outage. It's a key performance indicator.
So if you were asked to reflect, you could get specific. My bounce back rate from professional failure is definitely slower than from an illness because the emotional impact just lasts longer.
And that wraps up our terms. Now let's see how well those nuances have stuck with a quick quiz.
Remember, it's all about picking the most precise definition we discussed.
Question 1. The phrase dual mission refers to option a secret objective concealed within a primary organizational goal. Option B, a situation where an entity has two equally important or simultaneous responsibilities. Or option C, the process of achieving one major objective through two distinct phases.
Feel free to pause here if you need a second to think. Okay, the correct answer for dual mission is B. The key is those two words, equally important, just like the university balancing education and research. Question 2. If a decision is implemented across the board, it means option A, it is applied to or affects everyone or everything in a group or system. Option B, it is an experimental phase limited only to the most senior staff members. Option C, it strictly adheres to a set of written rules established by the organization.
Go ahead and pause the QT if you need to. The right answer is A. Remember, across the board means it's absolute and systematic for everyone in that defined group. All right, question 3. A plan whose instructions are described as all over the place is option A, fully distributed and accessible via multiple digital and physical channels. Option B, a comprehensive plan that covers every possible contingency or scenario. Or C, disorganized, scattered widely, or inconsistent in quality or nature.
Pause here if you like. For all over the place, the answer is C. It has that negative connotation of chaos and inconsistency, like those party suggestions we talked about.
Question 4. The phrase at the core refers to option A, the surface level symptoms of a widely known problem. Option B, a superficial misunderstanding of an important matter. Or C, the most fundamental, central, or essential part of an issue or problem.
Take a moment to think about what at the core really means. The correct definition is C. At the core gets to the fundamental root cause, like finding that a lack of trust is at the core of an argument.
Number 5. If something is considered overrated, it is generally option A, too expensive and thus only available to a select group of people. Option B, judged as being better or more important than it actually deserves. Option C, severely underestimated in terms of its market potential or value.
Feel free to pause now. The answer is B. Something is overrated when there's a big gap between the public hype and the actual reality.
Question 6 is about the metaphor, a wild journey. It describes option A, a difficult, confusing, or unpredictable sequence of events or experiences. Option B, a structured tour that involves visiting multiple exotic destinations. Option C, the initial phase of an exploration when all rules are temporarily suspended.
Go ahead and pause if you need to think about a wild journey. The answer is A. A wild journey is all about that chaotic, unpredictable, and emotionally challenging experience, like training for that marathon.
Okay, question 7. What is the bare minimum required for a task? Option A, the smallest amount or effort that is necessary or acceptable. Option B, the highest possible quality that can be achieved without exceeding the budget. Or C, the total cost of production excluding labor and transport fees.
Take your time to choose the best fit for the bare minimum. The answer is A. And remember, doing the bare minimum usually implies a deliberate lack of ambition.
And our final question, number 8. The bounce back rate measures option A, the frequency of failure experienced before a major success is achieved. Option B, the speed or efficiency with which a person recovers from a setback or difficulty. Option C, the total number of errors detected in a system within a given time period.
Last one. Pause now if you need a moment for bounce back rate. The answer here is B. The bounce back rate is all about the speed of recovery, turning resilience into a measurable metric.
And that wraps up our discussion. We've really dug into the specific meanings that make these phrases so powerful for advanced speakers.
Absolutely. It's about strategy. Using across the board to show something is total, or using overrated to challenge an idea.
The key thing to do now is to practice using these. Pay close attention to the feeling they create. Does it imply chaos, like all over the place, or a deep truth, like at the core?
We invite you to keep pushing yourself, and you can find the original lesson and many more resources over at SpeakDuo.com. Thanks for joining us for this critique.